Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to give everybody a moment to trickle in. And so you'll be in a moment of silence, but we'll begin in about a few minutes. So thank you so much for joining us. Hi, everyone. Once again, I am Zanani Johnson. I serve as the program manager for the Florida Chamber Foundation. I just want to start by thanking each of you for joining us for this month's Root Cause webinar series episode. And today will be a very engaging conversation, and we hope you all are not only excited, but are ready to actively participate. Our Equality of Opportunity Root Cause Matters webinar series launched last year. And during our series, we highlight the work our business community is doing to help provide paths to prosperity across Florida, prioritizing areas most in need of assistance. Next slide. Our Equality of Opportunity initiative was launched with 3 goals in mind: halving childhood poverty, ensuring our kindergartners are reading at or above grade level, and achieving the same for our 3rd graders by 2030. Understanding that these priorities are vital as we work to ensure Florida becomes the 10th largest economy by 2030. Next slide. Our research conducted through the Florida Chamber Foundation identified 10 root causes of poverty that hinder our children's ability to thrive. And today we will focus on 2 critical issues: access to jobs and transportation. Addressing root causes of poverty is essential for creating pathways out of poverty for every child in Florida, and it requires the unified efforts of our business community, along with the sharing of promising practices and solutions. Next slide, please. That's why today's conversation and others on topics like food insecurity, affordable housing, child care, education, and training access will culminate in a critical event happening on May 23, 2024, this being our annual Florida Prosperity Project Solutions Summit. This statewide conversation will address and provide solutions to address childhood poverty in Florida, and I urge you not to miss your chance to be a part of this conversation. Next slide, please. Remember, all 737,567 children currently living in poverty in our beloved state are counting on us to ensure they have an equal opportunity for earned success. We'll be hearing from a dynamic lineup of speakers, including representatives from companies like Orlando Magic, Florida Blue, Lyft Orlando, Uber, Tropical Smoothie, CareerSource Florida, elected officials, and more. Don't miss your chance to have a seat at the table during one of the most important conversations happening in our state. You'll also be hearing how Florida's business community is uniting for good. And today's speakers are a prime example of the type of work our business community is doing to move the needle in a positive direction in the very places we call our home. Next slide, please. We have with us today Sam Black, Economic Development Policy Manager at Amazon, who'll be discussing how Amazon is creating job opportunities for Florida's children and families. You'll also hear from Celia, who will explain how Lyft is driving prosperity throughout our communities. But first, we will kick things off with an economic update from our very own Dr. Keith Richard, Vice President of Research at the Florida Chamber. Welcome, Keith. The floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Zanani. Hi, everyone. My name is Keith Richard, and I'm the Vice President of Research here at the Florida Chamber Foundation. And it is a pleasure to join on today's webinar. This is actually my 2nd week here at the Chamber, so I'm thrilled to be able to jump right in on such an important discussion. Next slide, please. And so before we dive in on transportation and job opportunity metrics specifically, I wanted to start by giving a high-level update on Florida's economy. And so here at the Chamber Foundation, we track hundreds of different economic data points, and many of those fall within our quality of life pillar, and all these data can be found publicly accessible on the floridascorecard.org. And so these metrics that we have, these economic indicators, we report those both at the state level and the county level. And so here we're looking at the state level. A few important data points we like to keep up to date on are looking at the net number of new jobs we need here in Florida by 2030. And this is something that we have as part of our 2030 blueprint, and it considers the rapid population growth that we have projected in Florida and that we're experiencing that population growth every day. And so in terms of the labor market, it's also important for us to be monitoring the current jobs we have open as well as unemployment of the folks who are seeking job opportunities here in Florida. And both those metrics have increased this past month in February, February being the most current data available. And so as I go through about 5 or 6 slides here, I'll touch a little bit more on Florida's labor market as it relates to job opportunities and a little bit of the role of transportation playing a role in that as well. Another big data point that we like to share with folks is our consumer sentiment, which measures Floridians' outlook on the economy, and we do find that that improved last month. And finally, another data point that we always like to keep our finger on the pulse on is the Florida housing market. And so I share all these to give that high-level overview, but also to highlight for folks that you all can log on to thefloridascorecard.org and take a look at these metrics and find the areas that are relevant to your specific work and track whether we're increasing or decreasing and how these relate to our goals in Florida over the next several years. Next slide, please. So what we're looking at here are just some high-level metrics, and we're looking at the most recent Florida employment numbers as of February of 2024 this year, as well as the job opportunities, the jobs available with both a 1-year change and a 1-month change. And so Florida continues to have an extremely strong labor market with substantial increases in job opportunities over the past year, even though we did experience a very small dip in the past month's data, but we're not overly concerned about that small dip because it's only the second time that's occurred in a month-to-month trend change over the past 4 years, and we've added nearly 230,000 jobs over the past year, and that job growth outpaces the national growth as well as job growth in many states as well. But it's important to remember in an economy like ours with such high employment and a resilient labor market, our conversations about job opportunities are not simply about these raw numbers, but this conversation and our understanding of it also revolves around whether Floridians have the means or not to take advantage of these jobs that are added into the job market. Next slide, please. And so as we think about that, unemployment compared to open jobs is a great illustration of this concept. And so currently at the state level, for every 100 open jobs here in Florida, there are only 78 Floridians that are unemployed and looking for work. And so this is evidence of a workforce shortage at the state level, as in Florida's workforce needs are greater than our current available workers. But it's also important, and something that we're able to do with our data here at the Florida Chamber, is to assess this across different regions of the state as well. And that's why the Florida Scorecard is so helpful in disaggregating these state-level data at a county level to tell a more nuanced story across the state and for folks like you all to understand that story relative to your local region. And so while we have a workforce shortage at the state level, we can see, for example, in Hernando County, it's the opposite trend. There are far more folks unemployed and looking for work than there are open jobs within Hernando County. But we also, as we, pull apart the layers of these data and get a more robust understanding of what's going on here. Some additional context related to transportation is also important and comes into play here. Hernando County is an example where a large proportion of folks work outside of their home county. And so currently, Hernando County has a population of 200,000, and there are over 21,000 people living there who commute to a different county each day to work. And so as we think about that role of transportation and the impact that has on those employed folks, and the access that maybe folks have to transportation, whether or not, regarding the need to seek out-of-county employment, it could certainly point to an opportunity that these data elucidate that there's opportunity to expand businesses in Hernando County because there's a ready workforce there, and possibly reduce the need for some people to travel out of county for work. But once again, this is a different story when we look at different regions of the state. We can look at Miami-Dade County, on the other hand, where there are only 40 unemployed people seeking work for every 100 open jobs, and there are over 70,000 people commuting into Miami-Dade County for work each day. And one of the things this might signal is that Miami-Dade County, would benefit from the workforce living in that county being built up internally. And as we're already seeing such high levels of inbound commuters, we still see a large workforce gap. And so commuting metrics like these, they help us tell the story and better understand the role of transportation in employment and employment opportunities here in Florida. Next slide, please. So when we think about employment and transportation's role in employment here in Florida, we can help tell the story through thinking about commuting and how do Floridians get to work. In Florida, we know that 9 out of 10 jobs require some type of commute, as in these are not fully remote workers. So a lot of people in Florida every day with such a large state are getting on the roads and commuting to work. 10%, or pardon me, we only see that 1% of folks who are employed are Floridians taking public transportation. 9% of Floridians going to work are carpooling to work, whereas 3/4 of employed Floridians are driving alone to work. And so we can certainly think about the impact this has on our public infrastructure, especially as we consider Florida's need to continue to add over 1.3 million net new jobs by 2030. Next slide, please. And so beyond the scorecard data that I've been referencing throughout these previous slides, another data resource that we use here at the Chamber and that we generate here at the Chamber to look at these challenges and opportunities across different communities is the Florida Gap Map. And this is, once again, a publicly accessible resource that has hundreds of data points at the zip code level. And these data points help us tell the story about opportunities for prosperity here in Florida. And so I'm going to dig in a little bit of specific data as it relates to economic well-being and transportation on the next slide, please. And so what we're doing here is we're using that resource, the Florida Gap Map, to pull out a few data points and to help us better understand, with this larger idea of poverty and prosperity, looking at the potential role or what we see at the descriptive level of data of opportunities and access to transportation. So we've pulled out a few data points of 2 specific zip codes in Lee County. And what we're looking at here, and what we can see to an extent, is somewhat of a correlation between job opportunities, and transportation, and the economic well-being of folks in closely neighboring communities. And so, I certainly want to emphasize that these data shouldn't be used to suggest causation, but it does allow us to investigate the association between things like access to reliable personal transportation and access to employment and high-paying jobs, which has an impact on poverty. And, we see across these two counties a higher poverty rate, a lower medium income, and let me correct myself, across these two zip codes within Lee County, a higher poverty rate, a lower medium household income, a slightly higher unemployment rate among a group of folks that have a higher rate of not having a personal transportation vehicle in the household, and a rate of folks that are relying more on public transportation as opposed to their neighbors in that neighboring zip code of Lee County. So as we think about this, I really encourage folks to dive into this resource available online in the Florida Gap Map and start to dig into your own communities to think about, are folks having challenges with access to high-paying job opportunities, and is transportation or access to transportation an issue that folks are also seeing in those local communities as well? So thank you for the opportunity to share these data, and I will pass it back over to you, Zenani.
Thank you so much, Keith, for that timely and essential economic update. One of the things that I really love about the Florida Chamber is our unique role as an organization. The work of our foundation helps lay the groundwork for our legislative agenda and priorities. So up next, we have Sarah Catherine Massey, who's our Director of Talent Education and Quality of Life Policy, who will be providing us with a legislative wrap-up, letting us know what happened this past session. Sarah, you're up.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the introduction, Zenani. The Florida Chamber team was very busy this session. Our team testified in front of legislative committees about 150 times on bills that are important to the business community. And our legislative report card will be released in the coming months as well. So if you're further interested on what it is we were up to in the Capitol this session, we will make sure to share that with y'all when it is available. So quite a number of bills were passed this session that are aimed at increasing access to education. And as we know, when we improve access to high quality education, we are improving economic opportunity. We're improving a student's ability to get a high paying job. So lots of content here this session. So we saw the legislature pass a resident statuses for tuition purposes, House Bill 767. And what that bill does is it states that an individual can't lose their resident status for tuition purpose simply because they were incarcerated, essentially making it easier to afford in-state tuition. We see that the way out of the revolving door of crime is education and opportunity. We also saw that the child care tax credits were included in the tax package, and these tax credits are really important to the chamber because they're allowing the business community to assist with the child care crisis, assist with the cost of child care and the availability of child care that their employees are dealing with. And so we see that as a way to ensure people are able to stay employed and keep showing up to work each day. We also saw an expansion of the New Worlds Reading Initiative, which essentially allows students struggling to get those resources earlier on, identify those students in our early learners that might be struggling, might be behind, may not be ready for kindergarten. Let's get them the help they need before they get to kindergarten. And actually, the House sponsor of that bill, Representative John Temple, has agreed to join us at our Learners to Earners Summit coming up. So if you haven't registered for that, please go ahead. It'll be a really great event. And then we'll switch gears just a little bit into access to healthcare. We see access to high quality healthcare as a competitiveness issue. I wouldn't want to move my family to an area where I know they won't be able to get the care that they need. So one of the bills we saw there was it's called Rural Hospitals. It was sponsored by Representative Schoaf and Senator Simon. And what that bill does is expands the definition of what a rural hospital is, so that some of these hospitals in rural areas can apply for that definition and draw down more money from the federal government to keep their doors open. We're seeing a lot of these rural hospitals in a lot of these areas struggling to keep their doors open, closing, and sometimes that's the only option for somebody that may live in that zip code to get care. So it's really important that we can ensure that those hospitals can keep their doors open. And then we also saw the Senate president prioritize healthcare this year with her Live Healthy initiative. The Live Healthy initiative was a massive package, quite a few pieces in it. I'm going to talk about two of those pieces today. First piece, Senate Bill 7016, that was sponsored by Senator Colleen Burton, is a workforce bill, ensuring access to workforce education for those healthcare fields, expanding medical residency slots, ensuring that it's great that those hospitals are staying open, but we also need to make sure that they have the people to staff those hospitals. And we also worked on Senate Bill 330 by Representative Sam Garrison and Senator Jim Boyd. And Senate Bill 330 is really, really exciting because it's creating a behavioral health teaching hospital status. What that means is that Florida is going to have behavioral health teaching hospitals. We know there's a shortage of mental health care professionals. We also know that it's hard time finding access to mental health care. We're having a mental health crisis across the state. So really looking forward to seeing those bills start taking effect and see the difference across the state of Florida. And that's really kind of what I've got today. But like I said, our legislative report card is going to be available to you all soon. So if you want to see the full scope of what the Florida Chamber team is up to, that'll be available to y'all, but also happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for that legislative update. Audience, if you have questions about our research or any of our legislation, feel free to email Keith or Sarah. Their emails will be in the chat box. So up next, we'll be hearing from Sam Black. Sam is a certified economic developer with more than 10 years of experience. He has worked at both the local and county level, including the Miami-Dade Beacon Council and City of North Miami. He also sits on multiple nonprofit and economic development agency boards. Sam, we're excited to hear from you. I mean, I'm just as excited as when I am when I get my Amazon packages at my front door. So we're looking forward to hearing all about the great work of Amazon, and the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Zanani. And I also have a lot of packages coming from Amazon. We are Amazon, we're a small bookseller, a little startup, but I feel pretty optimistic about our chances to grow into a big company someday. And see, I need to have a laugh track here, since we're on a webinar. Nobody can laugh at my bad jokes. But as Zanani said, I'm the economic development manager for Amazon. I help with the development, startup, and creation of our facilities, typically our warehouse logistics facilities across the state of Florida. And so I'm usually the first person to go into a community on behalf of Amazon when we're looking to do a new development in a new warehouse, whether that's a small last mile delivery station or one of our large first mile fulfillment centers. And so do a lot of interacting with a lot of communities around Florida every single day. I cover Florida and the Carolinas, but I live here in St. Pete in Pinellas County. And so Florida is home to me. So I will just kind of briefly talk a little bit about Amazon. I do think that it's helpful to give some quick background and context on Amazon as a company and our history, our values, what we do at Amazon, and what drives us to develop a lot of the programs and benefits that I'm going to discuss today that are related to the topic of jobs, transportation, childhood poverty. And so this is just a quick breakdown of our kind of founding and the different milestones that we've had over the years. And it's pretty incredible to think that Amazon is less than 30 years old. When you think about how ubiquitous we are, there's always some delivery van going by, there's a package coming to your house. And so it's showing that we are really everywhere in the community, but we're really only less than 30 years old. When you think about other major companies, they have been around for decades. Really, the only other comparable company that's been around a little bit less time than us, that are as big as us, would be a company like Google or maybe Meta with Facebook. But otherwise, most of these companies that handle logistics or big or large retailers have been around for decades. And so it's pretty exciting and remarkable to see the growth of Amazon in that 30 years. And I'm excited to see what will happen over the next 30 years. And you can see some of these milestones, throughout the years. I think it's wild to see that the share price of Amazon was only $18 in 1997. But as we get closer into the late 2010s and 2020s, a lot of what we're focusing on is also trying to do more good in the community and be more community minded. And that's what a lot of we're going to focus on here today. Amazon, we're guided by leadership principles. We use leadership principles every day, whether we're discussing ideas for a new project or deciding the best way to solve a problem. It's one of the things that makes Amazon a peculiar company. We are guided by these different principles. We use them in our everyday jargon in work. When I'm talking to someone, I'll say, hey, we need to take ownership over this, or hey, well, let's dive deep and earn trust with the community. We use these different values in our vernacular every single day. And so, usually when you think of, and these are also geared towards customers. So a lot of times when you think of customers, you're thinking of people ordering off Amazon.com. For me as an economic developer and someone who interacts with the community, my customers are communities, and it's other local economic developers, it's local communities, local policymakers, civic organizations. And so those are my customers, and those are the ones that I have customer obsession over, are those community organizations. So these are our values as a company. And again, it's kind of what drives a lot of what we're doing at our company. And of course, we are more than just logistics, although that's what I focus on, is the warehousing and facility development. We do a lot at Amazon, right? We're a creative company with games, Amazon Prime Video, for example. We had a lot of exciting and award-winning shows, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. We did Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings show. And then we're also, grocery store. Whole Foods is owned by Amazon, Amazon Fresh grocery stores. And of course, AWS and the cloud computing and things like that are also a big part of what we do. And so when you think of Amazon, a lot of us think of the website, we think of the package delivery, but there's a lot more to it. And even though there's a lot more to it, this is kind of an overview of our fulfillment network. When we do think about the logistics network, there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of individuals who interact with your package, a lot of technology and logistics that goes in from the moment that you click delivery on your phone or on your computer on Amazon to having that package delivered. And really there's kind of three major steps. There's the first mile, which is when we have the third-party products that come in from sellers or from Amazon produced products. They go into a fulfillment center. And when you order the package or when you order the product, it's then packaged up, boxed up in that Amazon box in the fulfillment center, and then trucked to the next site. And usually that next site is a middle mile location, either a big warehouse where we sort it down by zip code and community, or it could even go to an air hub and be flown across the country. We have a massive air hub for Amazon in Lakeland, for example. And so a lot of packages go to that Lakeland location and then get shipped out across the country. Some of our first mile locations, we have a big one in Opelika, Florida, in North Miami-Dade County. We have a couple in the Tampa Bay area, Ruskin and Temple Terrace. We've got a couple in Jacksonville by the airport there, Orlando by the MCO airport. And we most recently opened a big fulfillment center in Tallahassee, Florida as well. So we have these kind of large first mile facilities throughout the state, kind of strategically located. And then after it goes to that middle mile, it then goes to a last mile. A delivery station is usually the most likely type of last mile facility, and it's taken to your house by one of those gray vans with the blue smiley face on it. We also sometimes rely on what we call flex drivers, which are individuals in their own personal vehicles delivering those packages. So it's a very long and complicated process, but we try to do it quickly and efficiently while also being as safe and as good of an employer as possible for our employees. Kind of getting into a little bit more of just like the meat of today's presentation, a major driver of generational poverty is a lack of employment opportunities in your community. And so that's why we at Amazon were proud to have created more than 52,000 full and part-time jobs in Florida. We've invested more than $28 billion in Florida across the state in this logistics network that we've built out, adding more than 27.5 billion to the Florida GDP. I mean, when you think about the investment we're making on usually empty pieces of property and investing, a lot of significant capital investment, that's creating a boon to the local economies as well through tax collection and things like that. And so we really are trying to help support not only on the public sector side with the tax revenue, but obviously those job opportunities that we're providing. And Amazon has a relatively young workforce. Over half of our employees who are in our warehouses are between the ages of 19 and 34. And more than half of all of our hourly wage employees were previously unemployed. And so when you think about these 52,000 employees and the jobs we're creating in communities, a lot of it is for younger, sometimes first time workers, and a lot of folks who previously did not have a job. And so we're helping to raise the bar on employment opportunities for the residents across Florida. So as I said, we have more than 75 logistics facilities across the state of Florida. It's one of our largest states in terms of operational investment, 53,000 independent sellers on our website. Again, this is an example of that indirect economic impact that we're providing beyond just the actual direct employment at those facilities. We're also helping provide and promote small business opportunities through our website. We have more than 65,000 indirect jobs supported in addition to our direct hire. So again, there's a lot more that is benefited from an Amazon investment in your community besides just those direct jobs, and of course, getting your packages quicker and more efficiently. So I think it's, this is really an important slide, especially for today's topic and understanding it. And so, I showed you those leadership principles, and one of those leadership principles, one of our most recent one, was to strive to be Earth's best employer. And so this is an aspirational goal of ours. Obviously, we don't think that we've met that, but we've made a ton of changes in our warehouses, in our facilities to make the employee experience as positive as possible over the last several years. And so we've invested in safety training, we've revamped the way we do operations, and we provided an enhanced suite of benefits to our employees to make it a good working experience. So the average wage at our facilities at Amazon are $20.50 an hour, which is a competitive industry wage. But what I really like and what I get really excited about is sort of the under the hood benefit and compensation that we offer employees. So on your first day of employment, we offer you comprehensive medical, vision, dental insurance for the employee. And this is high quality insurance. It's an affordable payment out of your paycheck every month, and you get those $25 copays to the doctor, $35 to a specialist. And so those free dental cleanings, free eye exams, all of that. And again, remember that a lot of the people who have these jobs, previously unemployed, younger people who may have previously not had any benefits, any health insurance. And when we think about what are some of the drivers of leading families into bankruptcy and into poverty, a lot of that is medical debt. And so it's important for us to provide these comprehensive benefits to provide that backstop and that safety net to our employees so that they're not one of the folks who have to, unfortunately go through that process. We also provide a 401k match, 50% employer match. Again, this is a lot of times the first time an employee here has a 401k or is doing any type of investment. And so it's exciting for us to help offer that opportunity. We also offer free financial advisors to help support those investments, answer any questions. So again, we're trying to help build generational wealth by providing these jobs to employees. One thing that I do want to highlight that I think is really interesting is Oxford Economics did a study in December of 2023, so very recently, and they were studying the effects of major employers on communities. And they defined a major employer as a company that creates more than 1,200 jobs, 1,250 jobs in a community. And Amazon obviously fits that bill, and most of the definitely in all the metro areas and a lot of the counties across Florida, we have thousands of employees. And in some instances, in specific buildings, we have over 1,000 employees. And they found that when a major employer goes into a community, that new business formations rose by more than 3%, which equaled to more than 100 net new businesses establishments. Employee earnings rose, unemployment decreased. But the most interesting finding that I saw in this study was that violent crime dropped by more than 8%. And I think that that shows that additional dynamism, prosperity to encourage workers to engage in the labor force who would otherwise be inactive. Again, we hire a lot of folks who are previously unemployed. That I think helps to reduce that crime. We see a lot of correlations between poverty and crime. And so this is really helping to alleviate both of those by having employment opportunities like Amazon has in the community. So we have committed to something called Upskilling 2025, and it's to support Amazon employees as they learn critical skills in a lot of in-demand employment centers. And so we're talking about things like machine learning, computer programming, and there are many of these programs across Amazon where you can get free upskilling, talent development. And so a lot of times when you think about Amazon coming in your community, not only are we offering quality jobs with good benefits, but we're offering a workforce development, talent development engine in your community to help your residents upskill into jobs and careers that they wanting to go into long term. And so you can see the numbers there on the screen, the investments that we've done, the numbers that we've done, and the pledges that we've made. And so the idea is to get employees into higher paying technical or even non-technical roles in Amazon or outside of Amazon, either way, as long as you're pursuing the career that you're interested in. The flagship program from the Upskilling 2025 pledge is our Career Choice program. And so the way that the Career Choice works is that if you work at Amazon for at least 90 days, you get access to prepaid tuition. And you can see there, it's prepaid up to that $5,250 annually. And that is for as long as you work at Amazon. So if you're at Amazon, for several years, if you're going for a 4-year degree, we will pay up to that $5,250 amount prepaid for as long as you're working at Amazon. I think that this is also good that it's prepaid because a lot of folks, need their paycheck and need to pay for necessities and bills and things like that. And so instead of having it be reimbursed, we're offering prepaid. There is no limit on the career or the degree path that you seek. So as long as it's a accredited attaining degree or program, we will help fund it. Doesn't matter what field it is in. And then once you get that degree or once you're done with the Career Choice program, you're able to leave Amazon if you want to. It doesn't need to be a situation where you stay at Amazon for X number of years or months. Once you are ready to leave, you can leave and go do that career that you're passionate about. And so again, we're helping to promote workforce development in communities as well as providing job opportunities. And here's just a few of our different categories. We offer it from something as simple as if you want to learn English as a second language and you may be more fluent in a foreign language. We offer those courses. If you want to go back and get your GED, things like that, we offer those foundational courses. We also offer technical apprenticeships and sort of more of those hands-on, non-college skill set opportunities, apprenticeships. And those are an opportunity for those who may not want to go to college. But then we also offer 4-year college degrees. And so in Florida, we have more than 20 Career Choice partner schools across the state, ranging from Miami-Dade College down in Miami-Dade all the way up to Florida State University in Tallahassee. We also offer online programs as well, like the University of Florida Online for our employees. And then here's just an example of some of our other Upskill 2025 programs in addition to Career Choice. As you can see, we're focusing on those in-demand professions, computer science, machine learning, cloud computing. And so there's a variety of options for our employees to go into specialized programs or to go through the Career Choice program. And besides the Career Choice and upskilling, we at Amazon, when we locate in a community, we see ourselves as part of that community. The employees that we're hiring in these facilities are local residents. They're from that community. And so we try to be an engaged community partner. We do a lot of volunteer events. We do donations within the community, local nonprofits, and we try to be as engaged as possible. Even with disaster relief, which Florida is no stranger to that, we help provide goods and services to those in need in the aftermath of storms, and we help to have our facilities serve as staging locations and logistics areas. Sustainability, we're investing more than $2 billion in sustainability. We are part of the Climate Pledge, which pledges to be net carbon zero by 2040. We're doing this by, for example, rolling out Rivian electric delivery vans across the state. You may have seen them in some of the markets, but Rivian is an electric vehicle company that we partnered with, and we're going to roll out over 100,000 of these vehicles by 2030. We already have more than 10,000 on the road now, with some of those in Florida, to help reduce that carbon footprint. In terms of military and veteran hiring, it's one of our biggest priorities. We have a goal to hire more than 100,000 veterans or military spouses by the end of this year. And we have customized technical apprenticeships and programs for veterans and spouses. And then, of course, small businesses. As it comes to small businesses, we offer free resources and training, Amazon technical academies, and we have over 137,000 small and medium-sized businesses selling on Amazon in Florida. So that's my presentation and my spiel. Again, we want to be good neighbors. We're good partners. We're trying to provide good jobs that can also lead to further success and help eliminate that poverty that we see across the state. So thank you all so much. That's my email address if you need anything, and I'll turn it back over to Zanani. Thank you.
Well, Sam, as you can see from the chat, we are all very impressed with the work of Amazon, and we just like to continue to thank you for all that you're doing to move the needle in Florida. We also want to take a time to thank you for your financial investment and commitment to addressing childhood poverty. We really appreciate the fact that you all came on as a sponsor for our upcoming Prosperity Summit, and we truly appreciate it. Up next, calling in from New York is Celia. We are so thrilled to have you with us. Celia manages Lyft's transportation access programs, focusing on ensuring everyone has access to affordable and reliable transportation, whether for job interviews, voting, or accessing essential services. Celia, we can't wait to hear how Lyft is helping to drive change. The floor is yours.
Hi, nice to meet everyone. Before I keep going, I do see that somebody had their hand raised in the chat. Did we want to address that, or should we just move forward?
We'll move forward with your presentation, and if the person who has their hand raised, if you could type your question in the chat, we could respond to you that way.
Great. All right, I'm going to try to control the slide myself here. Okay. So I'm here to talk about our Lyft Up transportation programs. And so these are known as our Transportation Access for All programs. So nice to meet you. My name is Celia. I'm the Social Impact Manager here at Lyft. I've been at Lyft for a little over 4 years, and throughout my time here, I've managed all of our transportation access programs. And so today I'm going to walk through a couple of things. I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are, what we do a little bit of a program spotlight on some of our jobs, our healthcare work, and do a Q&A after. So who we are. So if you're not familiar with Lyft, we're a rideshare company. Our mission is to improve people's lives with the world's best transportation. At Lyft, we have a social impact program, and our strategy we have two primary goals for our strategy. One is to use our core superpower, transportation, to bring people together to create meaningful, positive impact on the communities we serve, and two, ensure our programs and initiatives drive positive ROI for the business. So what do we do? What does it mean to do these programs? So our programs are branded as Lift Up. Lift Up is essentially our brand framework for how we think about our transportation access programs. So when we think about Lift Up, this is essentially our comprehensive effort to expand transportation access to those who need it most. And so because we're a transportation provider, this is our bread and butter. This is what we do best. This is exactly what we, decided to hone in on in terms of how we think about our impact. And so this is all under this Lift Up framework. And so what falls under this framework are our Lift Up programs. And so through these programs, we have our food access programs, and this is supporting folks get healthy food. So if you live in a food desert, we provide you with ride credits to get fresh food and fresh groceries. For jobs access, this is getting folks to a job interview, job trainings, the first few weeks of work. We understand that, if you can't get to a job, you won't be able to, access upward mobility. And so this is a great way to sort of bridge that gap between people who want a job and who want a better opportunity and just can't get there. And so we also have rides for refugees. So we work with resettlement agencies through partnerships and coalitions. We offer rides to the polls during election season. And then we also have a disaster response program, which connects with critical resources in the aftermath of a natural disaster. And we activated this during Hurricane Ian and Hurricane Ida. And we also have our Round Up and Donate program. And this is an excellent way for riders to participate in our Lift Up ecosystem by simply toggling it on the app and essentially donating their change to their nonprofit of choice. And so the nonprofits in the app exist, and you can literally go on there, click them, and then your change will be donated directly to the nonprofit. We don't keep any of those funds. And so how does Lift Up work? So we partner with nonprofit organizations that are direct service providers. So we grant directly to nonprofits. They go off and do the searching of the folks that need the services. They provide they're the direct service provider. Drivers are crucial in this ecosystem as they're the ones that get people from point A to point B. And then with riders, they're also important to this because they're able to obviously round up their fare and donate it to a nonprofit. And so when we think about our Lift Up programming, we get a lot of questions in terms of, why this one, why that one, why in that area. And so when we build out these programs, we first, think about where would it be most crucial to have an impact? Where can we pilot? And so we start with a small, maybe 2-city nonprofit to get it off the ground. And then we iterate and refine. We talk about challenges. We talk about ways of improving. And then we do some research and we validate, our theory of change. And then we partner and scale. So we work with other corporations. We work with, the public sector, the private sector to try to identify ways to grow the programs with our nonprofit partners. And so I'm going to do a spotlight on our jobs access program. And so I wanted to call out 2 organizations we work with here, specifically around supporting Florida job seekers. And so one is through United Way. So if you're not familiar with United Way, they're they're essentially like a call service that you can call 211 here in New York City, and you could essentially get services for a wide array of things. In the Florida United Way, they provide they're one of our largest transportation providers in the area. They have been able to provide over 5,000 rides. They've been able to drive over 47,000 miles, and they've been able to support over thousands of unique riders just in Florida alone. And the majority of the rides they're providing for are healthcare, employment, housing, education, food. And so together with United Way, we provide the transportation and they provide the support. We also work with the Bail Project. So the Bail Project essentially provides, pays the bail of somebody who's facing a criminal or civil case. And they essentially ensure that they come back to court and that they, follow through so that, these situations don't become a burden for the court and don't become a burden for taxpayers. And so the Bail Project is also one of our partners in the sense that they use Lyft to get people to and from their court cases to ensure that clients show up, that they're not, a burden on the system or on taxpayers. And so just some stories that we've heard from some of our grantees, you know, one of the things, I'm not going to read these word for word, so feel free to take a look here, but with some of the things that we've heard directly from some of our partners is that, you know, when prior to having this Lyft transportation tool as an option, they essentially had to get a job at the nearest place, like wherever the closest bus could take them, and they were making probably about $7 an hour. After being able to go further and take a Lyft ride to be able to do those first few weeks, they're now making $25 an hour. And so that big difference, right, between going from making $7 to $25 is life-changing. And that then allows them to, save up for a car, be able to move to a better part of the neighborhood or be able to do something that just helps them in different ways, like maybe get off of certain services, right? And so when you think about the impact that, one little step can have for somebody, it's enormous. The other spotlight I wanted to talk about is our healthcare program. And so in the state of Florida, Lyft has conducted over 9 million healthcare rides. We are actually one of the largest NEMT providers in the country. So NEMT stands for Non-Emergency Medical Transportation. And we began the pilot in Florida in 2019, and we have grown it since 2023. And this program supports supports the Medicaid population. So getting seniors to medical appointments, helping families get to where they need to go, hospital discharges. And since 2023, we've identified that the need is growing. We've seen 30% year-over-year growth in demand for NEMT rides. And that is all for me. So if there are any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat or into the Q&A box, and I can try to get to them.
Talia, thank you so much. I am just so filled with everything that Lyft is doing to help in our communities. And thank you so much for calling in all the way from New York. And Sam, thank you so much for sharing with us everything that's happening for Amazon and what you all are doing to impact our communities. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. Another thank you to all of our speakers, and a huge thank you to you, our attendees. Remember, the conversation around prosperity does not end here. We are amplifying it and taking it in person at our statewide summit in Coral Springs, Florida, on May 23rd. If you cannot make it in person, no worries. We also offer a virtual registration. And for taking the time to join us today, we want to do a little thank you. So in the corner, you'll see a promo code for 10% off your in-person registration. Make sure you use that code RCM24. If you want to book as a group to attend the summit in person, please email me, as we do have a group rate option. On our next slide, you'll see our Equality of Opportunity Advisory Board members. I see a few were able to join our call. For example, Stephanie Warden with Lee Health. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. They have financially invested in the work that we do here at the Florida Chamber Foundation, and they're committed, and their thought leadership is invaluable. But once again, this is not a goodbye, but a see you next time until our next Root Cause Matter webinar episode that will be in June. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we hope that you have a great day. Bye-bye.